All right, welcome back. Bitcoin became the fifth largest asset by market cap on yesterday, driven by a 7-day buying streak from U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin's price rose to a new all-time high of $122,600 on Monday and has soared nearly 13% over just the past week, as reported by Cointelegraph. Now, these gains allowed Bitcoin to surpass a $2.4 trillion market cap. That overtook Amazon's $2.3 trillion market cap. Silver, that's a $2.2 trillion market cap. And Google, that's Alphabet, $2.19 trillion market cap, says Emmanuel Cardozo, market analyst at real asset tokenization platform Bricken. He says also with institutions, giant institutions like BlackRock and MicroStrategy's treasury continually increasing, the legitimacy of Bitcoin as an investable asset class is no longer in question, with regulatory momentum also shifting that way. Well, in true transparency, I don't have Bitcoin. I've never owned Bitcoin or any type of crypto for that matter. But am I missing out? I don't know. My next guest, he's going to absolutely have an opinion on this. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Keith Fitz-Gerald. Keith, thanks for coming on. It's just one of those black spots in my mind. And I'm not sure. I don't dislike it per se, but I just don't feel comfortable. And I wouldn't ever feel comfortable putting a customer into it right now. But I'm so far, I'm down $122,600. What say you?
Well, look, to each his own, right? And so here's the thing about Bitcoin is some people are going to like it. Some people aren't. I'm one of those people who's with you. I used to own it. I don't anymore because I think manipulation the potential for that is extraordinary. Now, that having been said, and to be clear before everybody starts jumping all over me, I celebrate everybody who does own it, but I would take significant issue with is it an investable asset or just potentially the biggest case of greater fool syndrome we have ever seen in recorded history. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like it. Okay, for a couple questions. What's the manipulation that you worry about with Bitcoin?
Well, it doesn't matter whether you're talking about stocks or you're talking about housing inventory or you're talking about Bitcoin, right? Anytime you have a large percentage of the overall value concentrated in a relatively select few group of holders, the potential for manipulation is monstrous. Now, and again, this is a controversial statement, but one I've learned the hard way over 45 years in global markets. Institutions don't get interested because of validation. They don't get interested because suddenly they find something they hated on for years to be appealing. They get interested because they figured out how to trade it, or more specifically, stick it to everybody else who thinks it's an investable asset. So manipulation could take a lot of different forms in this one, which is why I tread very cautiously. Personally, I'd rather invest in digital clearing because there's no question in my mind we're going to digital currency. It may or may not be Bitcoin.
Okay, and so examples of digital clearing would be what?
Well, for example, that'd be anybody like JP Morgan, which is working on a multi-trillion-dollar system to replace the global clearing system that's presently in use for global trade. And if they have an identifiable asset, secure, encrypted, instant, then you know what? They've got an end run and rewired the entire global plumbing network as opposed to just betting on a particular currency. And it pays dividends. Not only that, it puts up great earnings every single day. Bitcoin, you simply got to depend on it going up and down and prepare yourself to deal with the volatility.
Yeah, Warren Buffett does say some smart things every now and again. I wish I had his track record, but he wasn't a fan, and he says, the investment strategy of Bitcoin is you're just hoping the guy behind you in line to buy it's going to pay more than you did.
Yes,
which is not an investment strategy. I get asked about it all the time on other networks when I'm on television, and I say the same thing every time. If you ask 10 people on the street what Bitcoin is, they'll have heard of it, but they don't really know. And of those 10, maybe 2 might be invested in it, Keith. But even the ones that are invested in it can't tell you what it really is. And that's where I kind of come unglued a little bit, because that's dangerous. If you're investing, at least if you buy Burberry stock, they make clothing or bags or whatever. But if you're invested in something, you have no idea what it is. That doesn't make me feel good.
Well, again, to each his own, Scott, right? There's a lot of people who love it, a lot of people who swear by it. There's others that swear at it. I'm more with Jamie Dimon on this one. I think that, it's an interesting, appealing thing. If people want to buy it, let's make it available. But understand the game that they're getting into. That's where I think a lot of people are going wrong. They're looking at it. They're being misled. They're thinking it's a legitimate investable asset. Well, can you trade it for a cheeseburger? Largely no. Can you buy gasoline with it? Largely no. Can you, what's the utility and fungibility on that thing? The irony here is, of course, it's still quoted in dollars. So, that sets a lot of people off.
Yeah, I mean, I think the CFTC's regulated as a commodity, right? That's what they've said. I mean, so that's another interesting take, I think, too. And I have guests on this show, Keith, that aren't allowed, but their banks do not let them comment on it even. I mean, so how widely accepted is this thing when you have analysts that can come on the show and the only thing they can't talk about is Bitcoin?
Well, again, there's no question in my mind, Scott, that the world is going to digital currency, right? So the question is, which ones are going to be there? How are they tied in? I think the more appealing concept is not only the financial clearing, the digital clearing I'm talking about, but the concept of a stable coin. Because when you start tying that into the national treasury, as opposed to having the national treasury buy it, now suddenly you're talking about something different. So for example, China's digital yuan. Imagine what happens if US customers can buy the digital yuan and take it to their local Albertsons. Now you got a real problem at the Fed. I think that the Fed is beginning to wake up to that. I think other national treasuries are more aware and farther down the road than we are on that concept. But for now, we're left with Bitcoin.
And what people really need to know, too, is there's a huge difference between, say, these cryptocurrencies and digital dollars, right? I mean, because a lot of times those
That's
two
my
things,
point.
They get conflated, don't they?
Well, and again, it's some of that's deliberate. Wall Street wants everybody uncertain and using different language because that way it can continue to go on down the merry road on its own with little interference, doing whatever it wants to do. On the other hand, I think it's important that individual investors do understand that what they're talking about, are they speculating or are they investing? Because you can't do both with an asset like Bitcoin. Forget the whole legitimacy question in my mind. Can you or can you not invest in it, or are you speculating and thinking your investment? Because if the bottom falls out, you're going to find your one or the other real quick.
Yeah, and again, everybody says it to me, and I think that's the smartest way to invest in it. It's whatever you invest in, make sure that you're comfortable with losing 100% of it.
Yeah, and again, to be fair, to be absolutely fair, because I get just absolutely excoriated by people who believe in Bitcoin. They don't listen all the way to what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad investment. What I'm saying is keep your dang eyes open because it may not be what you think it is. Meanwhile, I'm going to stay over here with JP Morgan, with Palantir, with other companies that give me dividends, growth, and I can see, feel, hear, kick, tire, taste, touch the products that I invest in.
I'm with you, Keith. If you get too much, tell them to come my way because everybody, you should see my Twitter. It's horrible. All right. Thanks for coming on. I can't wait to see you next week, Keith. Keith Fitz-Gerald coming to us from Seattle, Washington. All right.